Welcome back, and here's another big story of the day. Friction between the opposition parties that continues ahead of the crucial meet of the alliance parties and the alliance called I.N.D.I.A. The meeting is scheduled to happen in Mumbai. CNN News 18 has accessed the details of what will be on the agenda. This includes seat sharing, seat allocation, the logo of the alliance, and the Lok Sabha strategy, and also perhaps the prime ministerial face. Those are the key points of discussion. Well, the particular point about leadership or the prime ministerial face has become a point of contention. The Congress chief, Mallikarjun Kharge, so far has not made any categoric statement on that. But there are various chief ministers who have pitched for Rahul Gandhi as the prime ministerial face for the alliance. But there are allies like TMC, Aam Party and the Uddhav faction of Shiv Sena who are part of the I.N.D.I.A. and have said that there is no question of Rahul Gandhi being the prime minister face as of now. Some say it in minced words, in muted tones, and some parties have given clear indications. The Congress allies maintain that several issues need to be ironed out before taking that crucial decision. JDU has even stated that Nitish Kumar has the credentials to become the next Prime Minister of the country, and he should be projected for the top post. Given the numbers, the Congress party remains the fulcrum of any united opposition project. But given the dismal electoral record of Rahul Gandhi, will his projection as the Prime Minister's face be a deal breaker? Moreover, is the Congress party ignoring the prime ministerial ambitions of the other regional satraps? Will that come in the way? Our focus on Viewpoint.
में हमारा गठबंधन जीते, ये हमारे लिए बड़ी चीज है। पद या प्रधानमंत्री पद हमारे लिए महत्वपूर्ण नहीं है।
प्राइम मिनिस्टर की दौड़ लगाने की इस वक्त कोई जरूरत नहीं है। सबको इकट्ठे होकर के लड़ाई लड़नी है और वो माहौल बना हुआ है।
जुगाड़ का जमघट है, वो जनादेश के पनघट तक नहीं पहुंचाता। ये बात वो लोग भी जानते हैं जो सांप सीढ़ी के खेल में लगे हुए हैं, क्योंकि नरेंद्र मोदी जी के काम की गिनती ने इस कुनबे का गणित बिगाड़ दिया है।
All right, let me take this question about will the I.N.D.I.A. alliance really succeed in delivering a tough challenge to the BJP ahead of 2024? What are the key questions? What are the key challenges? And how much of the criticism of this alliance by the BJP or by various other political observers and analysts really hold? Joining us on the broadcast is Jaru Pragya. She's the spokesperson of the BJP. Ashpreet Singh Kadial from the Congress Party, the spokesperson. Mr. Krishna Hegde, who's from Shiv Sena, the Shinde faction. We're also joined by Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, who's the spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Ashpreet, why don't you open the debate for us? Rahul Gandhi as the Prime Minister. A lot of senior Congress leaders have spoken about it. Many chief ministers have spoken about it. I know it's not the official quote-unquote position of the Congress party and not a suggestion on the table when it comes to that alliance. But this has been said far too often in Indian politics and its political discourse. And it seems like a lot of regional satraps are not so happy. How do you see the suggestion that Nitish Kumar should be the Prime Minister's face?
Thank you very much for the question. See, had this question been posed to the Bharatiya Janata Party, they would have been able to answer your question as to who's going to be the prime ministerial face, because a single man calls all the shots in the Bharatiya Janata Party. Unlike that, we have a democratic setup. All our leaders collectively decide, and then we reach upon to a decision. Now, the fact of the matter is that the Bharatiya Janata Party seems very rattled with the unity amongst the opposition. First, there happened to be 16 political parties the first time the meeting happened in Patna, Bihar. And by the time the second meeting happened, there were 26 plus political parties that had joined us. And out of those 10 that had recently joined us, 2 of them happened to be former BJP allies. And the Bharatiya Janata Party's proof of nervousness, of anxiety was that simultaneously they conducted a meeting of their own. And because the Bharatiya Janata Party was concerned with the, with the issue that we should also do something about it. We have already lost Karnataka, we have already lost Himachal, we are going to be losing 2024. So the leaders started making statements like, if you're having to make an alliance, that means it's a sign of your weakness. That means you cannot win. Now I want to ask Charu this question, if that's the logic of the Bharatiya Janata Party, then why do you have an alliance of your own in the NDA of so many parties? If you think it's a sign of weakness, having an alliance, then break an alliance.
As a moderator of this debate, as an anchor, I don't think that forming an alliance is a show of any kind of weakness.
Exactly.
But the question, Charu, I'll just come to you. Just let me take one interjection more from Ashpreet. But the question is rather in the details. What is the basis on which an alliance is formed? What are the tangibles which are deliverables from a key alliance? And what are the moot questions on which there is a consensus between the alliance partners? And if these 3 or 4 key paradigms of an alliance are not answered, it's on a flimsy ground. So everybody is questioning the flimsy ground on which an alliance stands, not the sheer nature that there is an alliance that exists and it's a sign of weakness. I think that's a distortion of argument.
I think if anyone has a flimsy ground for an alliance, that's the Bharatiya Janata Party. Because you remember, after the meeting was done, simultaneous meeting that took place, there were leaders that came out of the meeting and said that there was nothing productive discussed in the meeting of NDA. There was only praises showered upon Mr. Modi. No roadmap at all whatsoever for the future. Number 2, you asked us a question as to why and on what basis have you all come together. Now let me tell you one thing, the basis is very clear. The Bharatiya Janata Party has become a danger for the country and for our democracy. Therefore, everybody, all the opposition parties and everybody in the country had to come together in order to defeat the Bharatiya Janata Party and their agendas to turn this democracy into dictatorship. Number 3, you said, what is the commonality that you have? What do you offer? We offer a vision. We offer a plan for the country, a developmental agenda. Unlike the Bharatiya Janata Party, we won't give inflation, unemployment, bad Medicare. Then you talk of the diesel, you talk of the petrol, you talk of the gas, you talk of the dal, you talk of the paneer, you talk of the doodh, talk of anything. The prices have, are touching the sky. And the Bharatiya Janata Party, instead of doing anything, has only been campaigning. Now, I want to ask Charu Pragya one question. Charu, just answer this question. Even the anchor said it very clearly, that having an alliance is not a sign of your weakness. But if your leaders have said it, that it's a sign of weakness, then why do you have an alliance of your own? And number 2, the house of cards that the Bharatiya Janata Party had built on the basis of lies, on the basis of false promises, has already started to crumble. We have seen a very good example of that in 2 states.
All right. Let Charu answer now. And House of Cards, that argument I believe is a double-edged sword. It can turn either way. Janta Janardhan decides. But Charu, go ahead. Make your argument.
Thank you very much. So reminding Ashpreet that the UPA government in 2009 was made out of 20 parties coming together. And let me also remind you that 2019 elections, which the NDA won and it became Modi term 2, the alliance was of 21 political parties. So forming an alliance is what happens in democracies, and it is quite sad that you need to look down upon that. That being said, NDA is still as strong today as it was 10 years ago. I can't say the same for the UPA alliance that has been rechristened. See, you can't change your insides by just getting a plastic surgery done on the outside. And UPA rechristened the ... alliance is not changing that. You wanted to actually talk about how much amazing achievements the I.N.D.A. alliance has had in the last 2 meetings. After the first meeting, there was a fallout. And you were already at each other's throats. Now, Aam Aadmi Party wants to contest in Chhattisgarh, wants to contest in Bihar. In Punjab, there are dharnas against the Aam Aadmi Party Sarkar in Bengal. It's your party which sits in dharna against Mamta Didi. Now, all these we can discuss in great detail and go on and on, but let's leave it. But after your I.N.D.A. alliance was formed, the NCP split, the Delhi Ordinance Bill came around. All of a sudden, we have this new flurry of PM faces emerging from your side. Tell me if I'm wrong. Now, continuing with this, let me also give you some facts. And these facts are very important for our viewers also, Anusha. Please hear me. Now, in 2019 elections, Bharatiya Janata Party alone contested on 437 seats and we won 303 out of it. Look at that success rate. While the Congress party, which is supposedly heading this ... alliance, contested on 421 seats and won nearly 52. Merely 52. So you look at how much support the government is giving. That being said, let's also, because we have my friend Ghansham on the show with us today, remind him that when BSP and SP contested together in Uttar Pradesh in the same election, which was called the Mahagathbandhan, out of the 80 seats, we still managed to win 70. 70 was BJP plus its alliance. So look at how people have gone completely on one side. Now, Chandrababu Naidu worked very hard in 2019, Anusha. He got together 20 plus parties. We thought 2019 election is going to see some magic for the opposition, but the result is for everyone to see.
Well, the BJP has been part of, the Congress has been part of successful alliances and government that has run this country, delivered well for the economy. So I believe on alliances, the stories exist on both the sides. I'll maintain my point that the argument is on the grounds on which an alliance has been formed.
Yes.
And the grounds, and one point, Charu, I want you to specifically respond to before I bring in Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari and Krishna Hegde into the discussion. One point is repeatedly made by the opposition parties that why is the BJP so hung up on a face? We'll decide on the face once the elections are closed. We are fighting an election which is an issue-based election. And the face per se may be very important for the BJP, but it's not so important for the I.N.D.I.A. alliance.
So that's fine. You can take your time, choose your PM face, but it does cause a confusion amongst the voters when every single person considers themselves to be the face of this alliance. That being said, that's a later discussion. First, you need to get requisite number of seats to discuss a face. How are you managing the seat share? Anusha, also I wanted to point out one thing. Now, when the opposition says they are uniting over a cause, I don't see any cause apart from defeating Prime Minister Modi, and that's not good enough for the people of this country.
All right, let me bring in Mr. Krishna Hegde and Ghanshyam Tiwari also into the discussion. Mr. Tiwari, there were a few points that Charu made, which is a reminder for the SP as to why certain alliances don't work. But my question to you is very similar to what I asked the Congress party, that is there really a real understanding? And the ambitions of Akhilesh Yadav or various other tall leaders who are regional satraps within the alliance are very well known. I ask you a straight question. Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar, are these acceptable faces for the Samajwadi Party to pitch as the next prime ministerial candidate for this alliance?
Good evening, Anusha, to you, my fellow co-panelists and the viewers. Three things are important here. One is that on one end, we have BJP that is today by hate and propaganda, for hate and propaganda, and of hate and propaganda. From school children to hate against women, to hate against the word India, so that news channels and BJP spokesperson have started fracturing the word India into calling it I.N.D.I.A. People who grew up calling India as India today come on television and say I.N.D.I.A. So this is an example of hate that BJP has built into the country. On the other hand, there is an agenda of employment for the youth, agenda of harmony, agenda of ensuring that price.
You are the one who fragmented India into I.N.D.I.A. We didn't do that.
Let him make his comment. Let him make his comment. I'll come to you. I'll give you the chance to respond. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, finish your argument.
I did not interrupt. We saw the visuals of
Please go ahead. Yeah.
We saw the visuals of Prime Minister of India standing like in front of the Chinese president who was sitting as if Chinese president was the headmaster. This is the lalang. India has been taken to a fool's paradise by this government who has betrayed the people, helped Adani and a few businessmen, and has ensured that people continue to fight, whether it is in schools, whether it is in Manipur, whether it is in Nu, whether it is in any part of India.
But Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, whatever has been said about the BJP or the alliance or other things, I think Charu can respond. But I have one question to ask you. This is not about a particular prime minister or political leader, but these small clips doing rounds on social media, trying to mock a particular personality. I hope we realize that when those spot shots are taken and when the opposition picks up on it and makes a so-called informed judgment on it, you're also somewhere belittling your own country. It's a global platform on which any prime minister, it can be from the Congress, from Samajwadi Party or the BJP, goes and represents your country. I mean, is it really fair to say based on that particular clip that your country was belittled?
I think for 9 years, the country has been belittled when national media has played everyday Hindu-Muslim debates, including channels, Hindi channels of News 18 India itself. That is belittling the country. That is seeding the poison in every household and not apologizing when Supreme Court calls out for hate speech. When people are struggling for jobs and against price rise, news channels play the government propaganda of hate.
It's quite convenient. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, you have every democratic right to make an argument here and say whatever you want to. But if I start digging into the statements that were made by various leaders of the Samajwadi Party, including the people who founded this party and what they have said on various social issues, including women, I'm sure that will also qualify as a hate speech. But that's not the issue that we are discussing right now. I want to bring in Mr. Krishna Hegde also into the discussion. Mr. Hegde, talking about the leadership. Charu, I'll come back to you. Let Mr. Hegde make his opening comment. I'll come back to you. Mr. Krishna Hegde, you've been listening to the discussion. A lot of questions about the leadership of who's going to lead this particular alliance. Do you see this particular alliance deciding on a phase in the run-up to 2024, or they would want this question to be answered as and when, if at all possible, before elections?
Anusha, first let me tell you that you have mentioned me as the Shinde faction.
Ji.
We are not the Shinde faction, we are the Shiv Sena, and we have been established in 1966.
I take your point, sir. Yeah.
And Honorable Eknath Shinde ji is the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and we have 13 Member of Parliaments in the House.
So Mr. Krishna Hegde from the Shiv Sena. Please go ahead and make your argument, sir.
So, I would be happy if you could correct that first. Secondly, I would like to say, till 1 week ago, the Congress and the AAP were fighting for who will fight the Member of Parliament seats in Delhi. Before that, they were fighting on the ordinance issue. The Congress does not get along with the BRS, do not get along with the AAP, they do not get along with the TMC, they do not get along with the JDU, they do not get along with the BJD, they don't get along with the Bahujan Samaj Party, they don't get along with the JDS, okay, to start with. So how can you call them coming back to one phase? They can't have one phase. You ask our 36, 38 parties, who's your leader, who's the Prime Minister candidate, and unanimously we will say Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji. You ask them who's your convener, they will throw up 5 names. So this coalition is not going to work.
But Mr. Hegde, the opposition argues that this is not your strength or your asset. This is rather a problem because there is no internal democracy in the camp of the BJP. That's what they argue.
Anusha, in the last, in 2014, the Congress got 40 odd seats. In 2019, they got 50 odd seats. Together in 2 Lok Sabha elections, they have not gathered 100 seats. And over that, Harshdeep, my friend, was saying that we were talking about Medicare. What is the Congress known for in 2014? It was known for 2G, 3G, Commonwealth, Adarsh, Koila, submarine, helicopter and all these ghotalas.
Ashpreet, I'll come to you. I'll give you the time to respond. One at a time.
And never got them back. And they won't get them back again. So the Congress is riding, they can change their name from UPA to India or whatever. But if you call a tortoise a horse and say now run like a horse, that tortoise is not going to run like a horse. So they should know that very clearly.
I'm sure the Congress and, the Samajwadi Party would want to respond to that. But Charu Pragya first, a quick response from Charu.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anusha, also the opposition likes to paint that the country has not achieved tremendously in the last 9 to 10 years. They forget that today we are a country where there is Har Ghar Jal. Did they ever even think about working on that? Simple things like women having toilets in their own homes. Congress never cared. Arshpreet mentioned healthcare. Ayushman Bharat today is it's become a work for case studies, and they conveniently forget all that. There are a grid of highways which are connecting even the smaller cities. In fact, Arshpreet ke party ke primary logo ke constituencies are not connected by decent roads. So let's not pretend that BJP's achievements have not been incredible on ground. Prime Minister Modi's rating continues to rise, as does the rating of our country.
And as I bring in Ashpreet to respond, Ashpreet, today there was a 200 rupee cut on the LPG cylinder prices as well. And BJP somewhere and the government somewhere is arguing, look, this is our effort to contain inflation.
Thank you for the question. You see, it's very clear that the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Bharatiya Janata Party is in the habit of, taking out money from your upper pocket and then putting it in your lower pocket. They say, एक चीज का दाम हमने कम कर दिया, लेकिन 10 other things, their prices have inflated. They are touching the sky today. I've already given the examples in the very first segment. Dool, dahi, dal, paneer, you talk of lal cylinder, you talk of tomatoes, you talk of vegetables, you talk of fruits, you talk of anything you want. Number two.
One at a time. Charu, I'll come to you. Charu, I'll come to you. Yeah.
Thank you. So
I'll
all
come
we
to
are
you,
saying
Charu. I'll
is
come to you. Yeah.
So now kindly give me 60 seconds uninterrupted. Number one.
Yeah.
The Bharatiya Janata Party has been time and again asking questions about who's going to be the PM face, who's going to be the PM face. We understand that we're rattled, but we happen to be living in a parliamentary form of government, not a presidential form of government. Understand that. Number two. The Bharatiya Janata Party, we understand a single man calls all the shots in a party and then it's imposed upon all the leaders. Your question who's going to be the face and when is going to be the face declared, that will be decided by our opposition unity. What do you have to do with it? You please take care of the business.
No, but Harshpreet, it's all very well said. It's all very well said that, we'll decide, we'll come to a consensus. Great. I mean, that's great spirit. But is that just an attempt to duck a very important question? Any formidable alliance would rather decide on the leadership first and then go to the bare components of it. You are doing it exactly the opposite way.
I'm sorry. I beg to differ. Now, I do realize that the Bharatiya Janata Party thinks, now Charu was also saying there is dissent, she said you are fighting, all the opposition parties are fighting. I understand why they see dissent as fighting, dissent as unconstitutional, because the Bharatiya Janata Party is not used to it. The Bharatiya Janata Party thinks, now please do not interrupt.
30 seconds to you, Harshpreet, then I'll go to the BJP. 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll have to interrupt Charu if she interrupts me, please. Number one.
She's not interrupting you. Nobody is being allowed to interrupt you. 30 seconds.
I want to say one thing, that the BJP is very uncomfortable with dissent. We are not. We think dissenting, deciding, and discussing are three very important factors of democracy, and the Bharatiya Janata Party will soon understand that once they're ousted in 2024.
Okay. Charu Pragya. Number 30 seconds are over. I'm sorry.
Just the last point. Point. See, another simultaneous meeting is going to be happening in Mumbai of the BJP, Shiv Sena, etc., the leaders. Now there is another simultaneous meeting happening. Now this goes on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party is nervous. And one thing, she said Ayushman Bharat.
There is no way to prove whether they are nervous or not. They say you are nervous, you are saying they are nervous. I don't think that's a good argument or a substantial argument to make. But Charu Pragya, 60 seconds to you for a quick response. Yes, please go ahead.
Funds have been halted.
Let her make a point now. You've made your point. Charu Pragya.
Thank you very much. So, Harshpreet, it is not Charu Pragya who's saying the leaders of the so-called alliance are fighting amongst each other. A Congress leader says that Congress is contesting all 7
Manipur and Haryana. Have you forgotten that?
Let me finish. No, Harshpreet.
Let her make her argument, please. No, I won't allow one guest to interrupt another one in this way. I didn't allow you to be interrupted. Charu Pragya, please. Yes.
Thank you. Congress wants to supposedly contest all 7 seats in Delhi. Then from Chhattisgarh, a minister visits Delhi and says, oh, look at the situation in Delhi. Aam Aadmi Party is not doing well. Then Aam Aadmi Party declares that Chhattisgarh we are contesting by ourselves. Forget that. We'll also contest in Rajasthan and in Bihar. And then after that, you have the Congress Party sitting in on a dharna against Mamata Banerjee and giving statements against her. So please, let's not pretend that this friendship, this alliance or whatever it is rock solid. It's not. It's a house of cards, and you are the ones whose leaders are giving these statements. I'm merely repeating it. Don't shoot the messenger here. If you're talking about inflation, Harshpreet, I was asking you, what is the inflation in other countries of the world? Forget about the very badly...
I have last 30 seconds on the show. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I reiterate the question to you that I said at the beginning. Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar, these are two faces that have been pitched for the prime ministerial face from the alliance called I.N.D.I.A. Will they be acceptable to Samajwadi Party? You didn't answer that question when I asked you earlier, so I'm reiterating that.
Question is for people to decide. 2 quick points. BJP's alliance is today like a tukde gang. There's a tukda from Shiv Sena that cannot stand on its own. Who's when they formed the government, the slogans were 50 khoke, ekdam okay. There is tukda from LJP. There's tukda from some other party, and these tukdas have been brought together on the pressure of ED, CBI, corruption money, and whatnot. So this tukde gang wants to take on India Alliance.
I wish I had got a direct answer on that, but I appreciate the time. Thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Time will tell if there is a leadership phase that can emerge as far as this particular alliance is concerned. A very crucial meeting lined up in the next few days. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Viewpoint. Plain Speak follows with Shivani Gupta. Thank you for watching.